Dear friends, in the last lecture, whatever we have seen, let us recapitulate. Let us revise. We have seen that for the articulation of speech sounds, we need an air stream. The air which we breathe out is transformed into speech sounds with the help of organs of speech. So that was we have ascertained, determined by doing a very simple experiment. That simple experiment was put in front of your mouth, palm of your hand, and articulate prolonged and b alternatively. Your palm will feel a warm air is getting out of your mouth. So that was the thing which we already uh, studied in the last lecture. Now, gradually, we are moving towards the organs of speech in detail. As I told you, the organs of speech, the term which is used for this subject is not very happy because organs which we are describing like tongue, lips, teeth, cord. So all these are our chest, lungs. So these are having different functions other than the articulation of speech. Physiologically, they have their own functions. Like tongue is used for the tasting of the food. Then teeth are like a grinder. They cuts the food into the pieces. And um, also nose is also is having its own function physiologically. So let's see which are the organs of speech, and these organs we should practice it regularly, inculcate those the figure which I'm going to draw on the board. Have a look on that figure, and then practice it at home. See the figure itself. This is the vertical section shows where you organs of speech. So this is the lips, this is the nasal cavity, this is the tip ridge, this is the hard palate, this is the soft palate, and the extent part which is hanging is known as a uvula. These are the tips. Then is the whole tongue, blade, blade of the tongue, then back of the tongue. And this is the root of the tongue. This is called the larynx. This is the vocal cord. This is called the vocal cord. This is the pipe. This is the food pipe. This is called the pharynx. Pharynx. Have a look at this figure clearly. You have to practice it very well at home. Even this figure is, as I mentioned in the last lecture, that it's very helpful to understand different organs of speech. And you have to draw this figure regularly. Ultimately, in the annual examination also, you have to use this figure for illustration. Now, as I mentioned, this vertical cross section of the human skull, the organs of speech can be divided into three groups. And these three groups are the respiratory system. It means that we inhale the outer atmospheric air into our body, and our body takes oxygen and releases the carbon dioxide. That is the process of respiration. Shwasana. While releasing the carbon dioxide, that the air which we breathe out is transformed, controlled by these organs which are mentioned here. And the second group, which is phonatory system, this comprises the larynx, which is situated here. Now see, it is shown here. Larynx is an apple-like structure. Some of the persons are conspicuously shown in a triangle here. That is called the larynx. Swaragranth. And the third part is articulatory system. It comprises in the mouth. It is having the lips or teeth, then upper roof of the mouth. That is the hard palate, soft palate. Sorry, teeth ridge, hard palate, soft palate. So the trunk and itself and nasopharynx. All these comprises the phonatory or articulatory system. So these three systems are here. As far as the respiratory system, so I have told you that it is used in the respiration system. Respiration. Let's see that the second group, the phonatory system in detail. The phonatory system, larynx, as I mentioned, a triangle which is situated at the top of the windpipe. The larynx is what is commonly called as the Adam's apple, situated at the top of the windpipe. The air from the air from the lung has to come out through the larynx and windpipe. In the larynx are situated a pair of lip-like structures. These are called the vocal cords. In this larynx, a pair of lip-like structure is placed horizontally, which is attached at the front and separated at the back. Let's see the figure of the larynx. See carefully the figure. You have to draw it very well. The epiglottis. This is called the vocal cord. These are called the vocal cords. And the opening between these two vocal cords is known as a glottis. This is the diagram, this is the figure of larynx. Larynx is situated at the top of the vocal cord. The air which is flowing out of the and also it must flow out through the larynx. So a pair of leaf-like structure. So you can see the pair of leaf-like structure which is attached at front and separated at the back. And these two vocal cords is known as the glottis. The vocal cords, as I mentioned here, like this one. So this opening is known as the glottis. These are the two vocal cords. So these two vocal cords can be opened and closed. When we swallow food or drink water, these vocal cords can be closed. And by that way, it prevents the entry of food or water into the windpipe because the food pipe is behind the windpipe. So it acts like a valve. So it doesn't allow food or water's entry into the windpipe. So when the two vocal cords comes very close to each other, the glottis will shut completely. As I mentioned, it prevents the entry of food or water into the windpipe. When we breathe in and out, the position of these vocal cords is wide open. The vocal cords are drawn apart from each other. By that way, so we inhale the outer atmospheric air into our lungs and releases the carbon dioxide by taking into oxygen and by releasing the carbon dioxide through the in this posture. So glottis is open. The air enters the lungs or get out of the lungs through the windpipe, wide open glottis. When we produce some speech sounds, the vocal cords are wide apart and the glottis is open. Such sounds produced with a wide open glottis are called voiceless or breathed sound. So this is next important term. Some of the speech sounds we articulate with the help of the glottis wide open. glottis is wide open, it means that the vocal cords are drawn apart from each other. So these two are drawn apart in this position also. So there is the opening of the glottis, and in such a condition, when we articulate the sounds, these sounds are called as breathed sounds or voiceless sounds. The second position is vice versa. In some condition, in some articulation of the speech sounds, when the vocal cords are loosely held together, it means that it is not completely shut, so it is loosely held together, and the pressure from the lung air makes it open and close rapidly. The vocal cords open and close rapidly. These two vocal cords, so closed and open rapidly from the pressure from the lung air, it makes a friction. And such sounds during the articulation of which the vocal cords are loosely held together, these sounds are called voiced sounds. Now the question arises how to determine whether the vocal cords are wide open, means that the glottis is open, or whether the vocal cords are loosely held together. In order to decide, in order to ascertain whether the vocal cords are loosely held together or wide open, so we have to do a simple experiment. Articulate a speech sound and put your forefinger onto your Adam's apple, that is the triangle which is shown. Articulate that sound. During the articulation, during the production of the sound, if your finger will feel the vibration, then the vocal cords are loosely held together. And the pressure from the lung air makes it open and close rapidly, and friction will be heard. It means that vocal cords are vibrating. The sound is heard is voiced sound. In the second position, when the vocal cords are drawn apart, your four fingers doesn't feel any vibration. Sometimes this experiment is a very to some students this experiment is very difficult to ascertain whether the sound is voiced or voiceless. So this is very important section. Next step in this learning journey, we have to understand whether the vocal cords are drawn apart, by that the glottis is open, or whether the vocal cords are loosely held together. As I mentioned through this experiment, that we have to determine whether the vocal cords are vibrating or vocal cords are doesn't vibrating. With the experiment which I all told you, put your forefinger onto your Adam's apple and experience the vibration. If your finger doesn't feel any vibration, then the sound is voiceless, and if your finger is feeling, experiencing the vibration, then that sound is voiced. Let me allow you to articulate or produce the sound P. Put your forefinger onto your Adam's apple and say P. Whether you are experiencing the vibration, ask yourself. Then produce another sound B. 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 Sometimes it's very difficult to ascertain or to decide whether the sound, whether your finger is feeling vibration or not. For that purpose, let me give another experiment. Put your palms onto your ear and articulate the sound. Say P, P, B, P, B, P, B. You will realize there is a difference between these two sounds. While production of the sound P, you doesn't hear the buzzing sound. It means that the sound is not buzzing. But while producing the sound burr, you will hear the buzzing sound. In the articulation, in the production of the burr sound, the vocal cords are drawn apart. There is a wide gap between the two vocal cords. So, vocal cords, glottis is open, and in this condition, the sounds which is articulated, that is purr, is voiceless sound or breathed sound. And while articulating the burr sound, so the vocal cords are loosely held together. It means that there is not completely shut. The pressure from the lung makes it close and open rapidly, and the vocal cords vibrates, and the friction will be heard. So that is the buzzing sound will be heard. So the second experiment is easy to experience. So put your palms onto your ear, articulate the required sound. Also, per, per. So per is voiceless and per is voiced sound. Then articulate the another t, d, t, d. So you will realize in the articulation of the first sound, that is per and t, the vocal cords are drawn apart. So there is wide gap between these two vocal cords. So there is no vibration. But during the articulation of the per and no, the vocal cords are loosely held together. There is vibration of the vocal cords. So with this we can come to an end with this phonatory system, that is the larynx. So we have seen in this figure. So you have to practice it very well. A lip-like structure is situated at the top of the windpipe, yeah, which is attached at the front and separated, at the back. So it's very important that whether the sound is voiced or voiceless. As I given you the two experiments. The first one is put your forefinger onto your Adam's apple. If your finger will feel the vibration, that sound is a voiced one. If your finger doesn't feel any vibration, that sound is not a that sound is not a voiced sound. It is a voiceless sound. And to some students this experiment is very difficult. Then the another experiment, put your palms onto your ear and articulate or produce that sound. And if you hear the buzzing sound, so that is called the buzzing sound. If you hear the buzzing sound, then that sound is a voiced sound. And if you doesn't hear any buzzing sound, that sound is a voiceless sound. So in the next part we will see the articulated system.